so long is like alchemy.
Jumping right into this because obviously it's long now. Right away, the story was the early turnovers. It was. And it wasn't as magnified maybe because we shot the ball well and Houston didn't. You see them get out in transition. Capella had himself a big night. But there was only 14 turnovers on the night. I say only, but it felt like there were 10 of them in the first quarter. And it was just kind of a lack of attention to detail, a lack of execution. That pass is about 5 feet off, right? And you see Houston makes us pay, running it down our throat, and the familiar face of Daniel House Jr. in the corner railing the 3-ball early on. This is one of my Harden rules. Make Harden finish. Don't foul him. I thought we did a good job of not fouling him. We didn't fall for his tricks. Obviously, we're accustomed to playing him. Here's the outlet pass connecting. Kevon Looney was eating early and often in this game. Unfortunately for us, so was Clint Capella. You see the size issue, and he's such a natural player, right? He's still a young guy, didn't play growing up, but he just has natural fluidity. Draymond, the dump off Looney, extending and attacking the shot blocker. I like to see the aggression. I'm telling you, the way Looney performs against this Rockets team, Daryl Morey is going to throw him a bag. There's Klay, high pressure, gets the easy one. And Klay Thompson, y'all, I think he wants that all-star vote. Right? Like Klay's like, I ain't missing the All-Star game. I don't know about you, Day, but look at him close out, block Harden's 3, but then you see Barnett's rule at play. The air ball goes to the offense. Capella finishes. KD driving hard at Tucker, the pull-up. And you see how he attacked him fast there in space? Because later on in the game, things slow down and it gets much more physical with Durant and Tucker. Hand up, it doesn't matter. The dude's just letting it fly. But then on the other side, Durant finds himself butt naked on the line. That's easy, warm-up jumper. And I thought overall, despite the numbers, despite what the media is talking about today, we defended Harden very well. He shot the ball 32 times. You see KD retreat and recover at the rim. Here's this, and this Steph, look, man, there's various things going on here. Steph is not happy. He is not engaged with basketball right now because his turnovers, his body language, we've all watched Steph enough to know that he's just not feeling things right now. And he had a bunch of turnovers early on. Like I said, Klay was dialed in. And for the most part, shooting good shots for Klay. Looney, the switch out on Harden. Watch this complete side contest from Looney. On the strong side, that is key. It's got to be on the ball side. But I think that that's the safest way to defend the 3-ball against Harden, right? Without getting hit with the cheap one. Steph, just a little hesitant. I also think Austin Rivers' size and speed bothers Steph a bit. 13 offensive rebounds for the Rockets. James Ennis looking like a young grandfather. Didn't do much damage. Most of that was done by Capella and Tucker in there. But the rebounding battle was even. Steph gets to the rim and one, but just look at the body language, right? He doesn't seem like he really wants to be there. And then I think everybody enjoyed this thoroughly, except for Harden. Takes the elbow to the jaw, spins around. He's been knocked out. Looney kept playing. Harden would stay down. He'd go to the locker room for concussion protocol. And I have to admit, I did not want him to leave this game. And then I felt strange that I felt that way because usually it's like, oh, get him all the way out. I'm tired of watching him, right? But with CP and Gordon already out, it would have just stole the luster of this game. Look at Klay breaking my 3-dribble rule, rocking Capella. If he gets all the way to the rim, I'm fine with it. It's when he takes a bunch of dribbles into a jump shot is when he's out of pocket. But speaking of pockets, look at him pick Capella's in the post and then go coast to coast. And like I said, I think that we're going to see Klay try to make a strong all-star game bid here up into February. But let's be honest, it's really about the results. If we're winning and he's playing well, everybody's good. But if not, it becomes an agenda. Draymond's usually not that inaccurate. He'll make turnovers, right? But they're out of aggression. These turnovers from him lately have just been inaccurate, and I think it's because he just doesn't want the ball. He's trying to get rid of it too quick. Iguodala, I'd love to see him try to draw a foul on an ISO'd Harden there. All he has to do is elevate. Got to take advantage of that against players like Harden where it could really change the dynamic of the game. KD scooping and finishing here to end the first with the staggered minute, second quarter at Steph time, right? Remember how fast and strong he looked in the beginning of the year, how decisive his dribbling was? I don't think it's physical. Obviously, he had time off from the groin. There's something going on upstairs, more Draymond inaccuracy. That pass is there, but you got to hit him in the hands. And here's what really masked the turnovers. Like I said, Houston didn't shoot well to start this game. That's why it felt like, all right, we're playing well. We have the lead. Not so much. Houston just started off cold like we've seen before, but you knew the law of averages would eventually start to show its face. House Jr., yeah, he's shooting a 3-ball. That's his second in the first half. Steph is like, all right, after about 4 or 5 turnovers, you saw him pep up a little bit, like, I got to get this together. And then like most females on the gram, he's willing to take the shot from behind to get the extra points. This is what sets superstars apart, the fearlessness. Look at that pass. He decides to thread the needle to S-Dot after 5 early turnovers. He still plays fearless. Look, Steph didn't play bad. He just played uninspired. There's McKinney railing the 3, and I thought Zoe needed more time. I feel like I've said that several times over the last few weeks. Another one, not even close. Now, here's the most disturbing thing about it. Look at Steph, doesn't even feel a type of way. Usually, he wears it when he messes up. Steph was just kind of impartial after all these turnovers. Looney, extendo clip, hung in the air and gets the and one. The Rockets are like that Monopoly player that only buys blue and green, right? And it feels like, oh, they're not hanging in this game. They ain't got nothing. But eventually you land on those blue and green spots and it costs you greatly. And all of a sudden they're back in the game. And that's exactly what the Rockets do with the 3 ball, right? They just keep firing away. You look at the score and it's a 10-point game after we've been dominating. Clay, another 3 ball. It felt like he didn't miss in this first half. And he was taking much more Clay-like shots from the corners. Harden, he's so dynamic. He's so unpredictable, right? He does such a good job of changing pace and changing what he does on each play. There's Clay, another one in the corner. So he's heat checking, right? He's feeling it. I want you to see KD here understand that Clay's going and he wants the ball. KD, I just don't like the narrative that he's selfish because that's not what it is. He has a different philosophy. He is a my turn, your turn type of guy, but he'll get it to the hot guy. So he gets it back to Clay, bang, 3 ball, right? I show you that to show you this a few plays later. Clay, missing. He's taken quite a few more shots. Look at KD call for the ball in the corner, and Clay instead forces up a tough one. Look at Durant. He's frustrated. He's like, hey, Clay, return the favor. Again, this is philosophy. Neither of these guys are selfish. Well, Clay may be a little selfish, but to end the quarter, outlet past the dunk, and Clay, look at, runs down and daps him up, realizing, yeah, man, my bad. These type of things happen within the game on every team every night. The important thing is you communicate and you talk to each other about it. If KD just holds on to it, doesn't say nothing, it can grow. They need to communicate. Third quarter, Steph trying to get loose on Austin Rivers gets the and one. Look, the only man that can stop Steph Curry is Steph Curry, right? But Austin Rivers can be a more discouraging defender than others. There he gets beat backdoor. So Steph got to the rim quite a bit. He ended up being the leading scorer for us, right? But it didn't feel that way throughout the game. There's the pick and roll, the dynamic decision-making from Harden. He doesn't always shoot it despite what it feels like. And then these 3s from Rivers were huge. Again, Golden State's defense playing inside out. Who picks up Rivers in transition? That's just sloppiness. And I thought those 2 3s from Rivers completely changed the flow of this game. Timeout Kerr. I thought Draymond had himself a nice night. And look at the elevation, a little better elevation on this finish than we've seen this last month. I also thought for whatever reason, Houston kind of gave him more respect in the spacing department. And then this is where things just got indecisive and sloppy. KD out of bounds. Let me ask you this. If Durant signed a 4-year deal, does Steph make that pass to the corner right there? Or does he just pop the 3? Austin Rivers with his meth-like rhythm, right? He has an awkward style, kind of like Lonzo, right? But he gets hit nasty here. And I just want to point this out. I talked about him being underrated, right? But it just seems like his teammates don't like him for whatever reason because he is really chipped up here. They just keep playing. They don't take the foul. I guess Tucker tried to take a foul there. Steph rails a 3. No one even goes down to that side of the court to check on him. And I think that just speaks to who Austin Rivers is. I don't know any details about it, but whatever team he's on, he gets traded from, and guys seem to be happy when he gets traded. The thing with Harden is even if you're defending him well and he's not going, eventually he's going to get going just because of the amount of usage that he has, right? His opportunities allow him to find a rhythm regardless of how he's shooting. I also thought we overhelped on him. He's already going to give you a 40-piece. You might as well just let him score on an island and not let their other shooters get open looks and perhaps find a rhythm. And then winding down the third, all of a sudden, we've landed on Boardwalk and Park Place a few times, and the Rockets are back in this game. Rewatching this game again this morning in hindsight without the motion behind it, Brandon Knight hit some just really unaccounted for baskets. He hit a 3, he got to the cup a couple times, and their bench guys just gave them more than our bench did, frankly. Here's Draymond in the post answering with the and one. 9, 11, and 8 for Draymond in a solid performance, though he did struggle to keep Capella off the glass. Capella had 21 boards. Jerebko, this was a huge 3. You see the game is a 2-point game here in the fourth. So this is Curry's second unit time. to the cup, housed at the rim by Looney. You see what I did there, but watch Livingston. He's looking for Steph the whole time here. And I think what we're seeing is some unintended consequences of this new rotation for Steph. Because not only is it affecting Steph, but it's affecting the second unit because it's breaking flow. When Steph's out there, they are all like, all right, Steph, it's your turn. Go ahead, take over, as you're going to see him do here with this little skip to my Lou move. But what it's doing is it's taking away the natural flow of basketball and aggression from the second unit. So it's a double whammy. I understand in theory what they're trying to do with it, but it's hurting not only Steph, but these second unit guys. There's a turnover again. It becomes predictable. Steph's out there with these second unit guys. It's his turn. So about midway through the fourth, Steph sits again. And I know many of you have pointed this out. He's a rhythm player. This is asking a lot of him. And I don't expect this to last long. It was an experiment. And it's an experiment that I think they're going to abandon soon. Young players, take note here. Austin Rivers, his feints don't work because he doesn't give them time to work. You see how spazzy and fast he does things? The defender doesn't even react to half his moves because they're too fast. He doesn't sell them. His irky-jerky style, if he slowed down, his quickness would magnify. So after Clay hoisted up a couple ISOs, KD was like, all right, fine, it's my turn. And not only is the staggering minutes of Steph hurting that side of it, it's also, I think, hurting the KD-Clay dynamic because they're not seemingly sharing the ball correctly, right? It's a my turn, his turn type of thing, and they're getting frustrated with each other. KD maybe more so than Clay. And look, I understand why they did it, and I agreed with it initially, but the thing is, sometimes you don't know the problem with something until you try it. So they've tried the new rotation, and now you're seeing the problems of it. And I think particularly with these two, it's Clay. We know he's not a playmaker. And so it frustrates KD at times, I think, when KD's like, all right, man, come on. It's a balance. Clay gets tunnel vision. And don't get me wrong, Durant does too, but Durant's a little more self-aware of when he's being greedy. Clay's just oblivious to it. Tucker rips KD again. I think the more he slows it down against Tucker, the more advantages he gives to Tucker. He's got to use his speed. There he does it. Capella with the clean block. After a nice defensive stand from Draymond, now you see KD almost in spite, right? He hadn't touched the ball as much as he thought. He thought Clay was kind of hogging ISO, so now he's not taking no for an answer. He goes coast to coast and one, and he's in tunnel vision mode. Now, I want to point this out, though. Look, he didn't have his mind made up he was taking this. He's looking for Steph and Clay there initially. Steph completely disinterested with trying to get open, and then he takes the three. So it's not like his mind was completely made up. But I think this is Steph's way of almost showing his frustration with maybe having to cater to KD and play off ball and change the rotation. That's what we're seeing. Steph is just not that motivated to get open. He's like a receiver running routes knowing the ball's not coming his way. Cliche as it sounds, our strength is our weakness, and Steph's unselfishness is also his weakness. Just giving the ball up here. Now, Durant, you can't really fault that. How many times has he knocked that down? But I think it was just within the context of how many shots he had taken in the last 2 or 3 minutes. And then he doesn't see the ball and one Clint Capella. Houston will not go away at Oracle. Now, I didn't particularly like this because I thought they should have went 2 for 1 and got a quicker shot. No surprise who they're going to in this moment. And it's hard to argue. You're talking about one of the greatest ISO scorers of all time. So it's you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. The reality of it is KD could be locked into a 5-year deal just like Steph, and they could very well still call that same ISO play down the stretch of games, and people can't argue with it. Now, Clay and Harden have been going at each other since their high school days. One last dance in regulation. From the logo, no, sir. So after being up 20 without Chris Paul, without Eric Gordon, the Rockets battle all the way back to force overtime at Oracle on Thursday night. Now, I'm not a stat guy, but I do feel like this holds true. Whoever scores first in overtime, it always feels like they get the win. It's just a feeling, right? And the stats suggest as much. Steph, Austin Rivers, like I had mentioned, Rivers does a serviceable job, but ultimately it's more about Steph and the lack of joy that he's playing with right now. Iguodala on Harden, he played 44 minutes. He shot 23 threes. This was a big play. Steph taking the charge, but I have to credit Harden for his stamina. With his usage, I mean, we know where he rests, but hate him or love him, you have to admit he is a special player. KD hits the jumper, and the lead changes were going back and forth midway through this overtime. Then pushing out in transition, Steph mishandles the ball, runs to the corner, didn't matter, splash, and finally it felt like the Warriors had regained some momentum and this Oracle crowd was behind them. Rivers to the cup, and Draymond lets him know what he had for breakfast and lunch. with the block, and it felt like Golden State was going to close out perhaps a wary James Harden. No, sir. You want to talk about literally in the eye of Kevin Durant, hits the three. That's his 9th on the night. And then look at this miscommunication, leaves probably who you want to leave open on the scouting report. Austin Rivers knocks his 3rd 3 down of the night. Durant, quick catch and finish over Tucker. Don't let him put his hands on you. And then I'm not even going to lie, in this play, tie game, Klay ahead of the pack. I was like, no. Okay, Klay. Left hand finish on an athletic big defender and Howes Jr. gives us the 2-point lead. Houston answers with free throws from Harden. KD, it's a scramble. I thought he got rolled up on his ankle, somehow saves it, or did he? Steph patiently takes the mid-range jumper and gives the Warriors the lead with 22 seconds left in this game. KD was so parallel to the ground, I think they thought he was in the air. What could have been a huge missed call is just an afterthought after this possession. James Harden pulls up 44, 15, and 10 on the road in overtime as the reigning MVP buries the champs in a bit of redemption, as much redemption as you could get in a January game. 1 second left, and there's a heave from Durant here. Now, I put this on my YouTube channel, and you guys are curious. Oh, this is a different style. Those of you that have been following me a while know this is an old school alchemy video, and this is the type of coverage you get if you join my Patreon. If you're a Warriors fan or just an NBA fan and you want a deeper coverage of games, because you're actually getting the breakdown of each opponent the Warriors play as well within that game, consider joining my Patreon. If not, I hope you enjoyed this extended breakdown of this game. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, chill.